Hello, welcome to this video. For those of you who don't know yet, my name is Miriam, and in 2021 I challenged myself to read 365 books. In my weekly wrap-up videos I tell you about the books I read from Saturday till Friday, and by read I mean finished. This week's weekly wrap-up video is about books I read from Saturday the 3rd of April till Friday the 9th of April. I read 8 books in the past week, and that might seem like a lot, and it definitely is a lot, but there were 3 novellas, but we'll get to that. So the first book I finished is Demon by Tosca Lee, and this was a reread for me and I really enjoyed it. I read it for a special occasion. That video will be up Thursday. I had not time to edit it in the past week, so therefore there was no video on Thursday, but this Thursday there will be a video, and I'm also showing you this book in that video. Again, I was impressed by this book, and this, I don't know, I can't explain it, but this book is really special to me, and yeah, if you have not read it yet, then I recommend it to you. Definitely do. The next book I read is a book that's almost falling apart. I've shown you this in my TBR video. It's the 3rd book in a Dutch original series called The Dovetail, and this used to be my favourite book in the series, and I think it still is my favourite book in the series. The next book I read was The Hypnotist's Love Story by Liane Moriarty. This book was written from 2 perspectives. One was the 3rd person perspective, and that was the storyline of Ellen, a hypnotist, and she falls in love with this seemingly perfect guy, but then he has something to say to her, that he is being stalked by his ex-girlfriend. He dumped her like 3 years ago? I don't know, I can't recall the exact time. But the first person perspective you read from is actually the perspective from the stalker. I thought that was very interesting to read. Also because people react differently when a man is stalked instead of a woman. And this book actually tried to explain that it is the same. It makes people feel unsafe if they are being stalked, and but I also thought it was very interesting to read from the stalker's perspective, and to be honest, I did not really like the guy in the book. I mean, Ellen, the hypnotist, was really in love with him, and I sort of failed to see why, but it turned out at the end of the book that he became a much nicer person when the stalking stopped, because that eventually happened. So maybe it was a strategy of the author Liane Moriarty to make Patrick, the guy, a sort of, to me he seemed a bit like an angry old man. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting to read. It was not as good as other books I read by Liane Moriarty. My favourite is still What Alice Forgot. But it was definitely, I think I've said this before, but the good thing about the books by Liane Moriarty is that they are like 400 to 500 pages, but they read like they only contain like 200 pages. Because it was the Easter weekend, I had the Monday off. I mean, that's a tradition in the Netherlands. We actually call it Tweede Paasdag, which means second Easter day. Don't ask me why, but I got a day off, and I decided I wanted to get a bit more ahead of the challenge, but I also wanted to do some other things, some writing things. So I decided I would read some novellas by Lisa Wingate. There were 3 novellas: the Seaglass Sisters, the Tidewater Sisters, and the Sandcastle Sister. So in the last one it's singular, sister. And these books actually connect the main books in the Carolina Heirloom series together. I did not know that. Otherwise I would have read these novellas when I was reading the other books in the Carolina Heirloom series. But yeah, it was really nice to read them because they were very short, but also because they made the connection and they provided much more satisfying endings to the main storylines. Especially the Sandcastle Sister was really interesting to me, because that, I think I told you in a previous weekly wrap-up video that I was a bit disappointed in the story keeper. Not really disappointed, but I had some mixed feelings about it, and I was actually a bit disappointed with the ending, and the Sandcastle sister provided a perfect ending for that story, so I'm really happy about that. Reading the novellas actually helped me with my challenge, so I was a bit more ahead, so I could take it a bit more easy, because lately I feel that sometimes I feel a bit rushed when reading books, and if now I'm ahead of my challenge I can take my time with certain books. So I definitely took my time with Anne of Green Gables, because this was such a cute book and I didn't want to finish it in one day. I wanted to last it a bit longer, so I think it took me 3 days to finish, which is quite a long time for me. I can't believe I've never read this before, because it's such a cute book, and yeah, now I actually want to read all the books in the Anne series. The last book I read was actually book number 100, and I thought that was a really nice milestone to share with you. I actually picked this book on purpose for it. It's My Legendary Girlfriend, the debut novel of my Gayle, one of my favourite authors. I wanted to read a special book for the 100 books milestone, and I might want to read a special book with a 200 book milestone, but well, we'll see about that. It takes such a long time. But yeah, it was really interesting to read the debut novel by my Gayle. What I thought was really interesting is that this book takes place over the course of 3 days. That's impressive. I mean, usually not a lot happens in 3 days. It was definitely not the best book by my Gayle, but that's makes sense. I mean, it's his debut novel. I really like to see the growth he has made, and his newest books are so good. This is actually a story about Will. He's a teacher and he is broke, and he is 25 and turns 26 in this book, and he feels that his life is stuck. He's stuck in this place. From now on he won't be able to chase his dreams, but he has to do his job as a teacher. He only taught for a week when this book starts, and I think he does have a quarter life crisis. And this book was written in 1997, I believe, so that's a long time ago, and I think in the last years it has become easier to change your career path when you are older, but still, when you are 25 there's lots of room for change. But I think he has a quarter life crisis, and it was I understood his character. On the other hand, he was still in love with his ex-girlfriend. He broke up with him 3 years ago, and he is still in love with her. And I was not really convinced about that, because well, she used to be his legendary girlfriend, the girl he could not go over and he wanted to get back with, and I sort of did not understand why. I mean, she did not really, her character was not worked out properly. I think that's a bit of the problem. And the ending was, yeah, I was not really satisfied with the ending, but now it feels a bit like I'm butchering my favourite author's debut novel, and as an author myself, I know that on one hand you are extremely proud of your debut novel. I mean, you got it, you got a book published. But on the other hand, reading it or going back to it after a number of years, you feel ashamed. At least that's what I have. Last year I read the first 5 books I wrote so far. It was really nice to see that I have evolved in my writing style, and on one hand I was proud of my debut novel. I think I'm still behind the message of the book, but the writing style, if I were to rewrite it now, I would do it so much better. That's what I believe. So actually reading My Legendary Girlfriend brought me, gave me an idea. I've read the most recent books by my Gayle. I read the Hope Family Calendar, I read Half a World Away, All the Lonely People, Seeing Other People, and The Man I Think I Know is still on my list, and I'm going to read that. Those are his most recent books. But now I'm going to read his other books in the order he wrote them, so I am going to experience his growth, and when I'm done with that, I will probably it will probably be like 2 years from now. I don't know. It's not like I'm going to read a book by Gayle every week, because I don't have all the books and I'm not allowed to spend a lot of money on books. So we'll see about that. So I will probably reread Half a World Away and All the Lonely People and all the most recent books. But I'm going to read his books in order. And if I'm still making videos about books when I finish that, I might even make a video on this experience. These were the books I read in the past week. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'm curious, who is your favourite author and what book is his or her debut novel? Let me know in the comments, so it might inspire me to read that book as well. If you want to see more content made by me, then consider subscribing to my channel, and as always, happy reading!